Hey, how's it going? Dave 2D here. Okay, RTX 2080, RTX 2080 Ti. These are the new Nvidia cards. I've spent quite a bit of time testing games on these things, and you're probably interested in benchmarks, so here we go, benchmarks. I'm grouping these up by pricing tier instead of just by model name. I feel like it's a more fair comparison instead of just by the naming. The RTX 20 series GPUs are fast as heck. At 1440p, they're already giving a noticeable boost over the previous generation, but at higher resolutions, it's very significant. The performance gains vary by a decent spread depending on the title, but at high resolutions, these new cards are crazy fast. The 2080 is awesome, the 2080 Ti is even more so. This card is doing stuff that I've never seen before in any graphics card. Being able to play Witcher 3 at almost 80 frames per second at 4K with everything turned up, playing Siege on Ultra at 4K at over 144 frames per second, it's crazy. Now, I'm using the Acer X27 display. It's a 4K 144Hz G-Sync panel. The detail that I'm seeing in the game at 4K and then being able to see everything run really smooth in-game, especially at that kind of resolution, is nutty. Now, I want to take a look at the cards themselves. I like the aesthetic of the previous 10 series Founders Edition more. I always thought that they looked like Ninja Turtles. The new 20 series have a more generic look to it. I still think they look good, but they're just less visually iconic. They're black and silver, nothing really eye-catching, but I think they do look good. They're also not a blower style fan configuration like the older Founders Editions from previous generations. A lot of them were kind of a blower style. These are an open air dual fan design with vapor chambers, and it delivers really good performance. Like, both of these Founders Edition cards run quiet and cool, way quieter and way cooler than I expected. And they're slightly overclocked out of the factory, so I think they did a good job with thermal management. There are other AIB partners available that are going to be making cards that are going to be a little bit cheaper and obviously with different cooler styles and stuff. If you are looking for a blower style, I know that Asus is going to be making one eventually, I think soon. I'm probably going to pick up one of those because I prefer the blower style for the smaller cases that I put them in. So I'm going to focus the rest of this video on kind of a bigger question. Like, are these RTX 20 series cards really worth the money? Because these are very expensive. This goes for $800, this goes for $1,200, I believe, US. Now, these are not like the cheapest versions of the RTX series cards. These are the Founders Editions. Eventually, AIB partners will put out cheaper ones, but if you want to pick up one right now, that's the price you're going to pay, and that's not cheap. The 2080 Ti is not a value-oriented product, right? It's obviously extremely expensive, but because it's the most powerful GPU on the market right now, it can have that kind of pricing. It's greedy in my opinion, but it can have that kind of pricing. The 2080, like the regular one, on paper seems fairly priced for the performance you're getting, right? It's way better than a GTX 1080, slightly better than a 1080 Ti. The Turing architecture is more efficient. You get ray tracing capabilities, you get DLSS capabilities. It seems like a pretty good option for someone who's interested in high res, high performance, high frame rate gaming. But to kind of get into this a little bit further, we have to understand what ray tracing and DLSS are. And I'm not going to go into crazy detail, but just a brief understanding. Ray tracing right now is an underdeveloped and unoptimized technology. We've seen some really impressive demos and they look awesome, but there's a huge performance trade-off. And right now, I don't feel like that trade-off is worth it for the improved realism in shadows and lighting. Like, it's not Nvidia's fault. This hardware has to exist. This first generation of RTX has to exist in consumers' hands before developers are going to spend the time and energy and effort it takes to make ray traced games. Like, it just has to happen for this industry to move in that direction. But that doesn't mean that this first generation of cards is the one to get. Now, there's a second technology that RTX supports that I think is way cooler. It's DLSS. So this uses machine learning to massively increase the speed and efficiency that these cards are able to output games in 4K. It's mostly done through Nvidia. Like, they just take the game in advance, they run it through their supercomputer, they get some data that these cards can use to basically optimize the way that they're pushing out frame rates. Now, the problem with these two technologies, RTX ray tracing and RTX DLSS, is that as a consumer, if you're buying these cards right now, you're betting on this technology to take off in the future. Like, it's not that the RTX 20 series is underwhelming or underperforming, it's just that the 10 series card from the previous generation did really, really well. If anything, it's a testament as to how good the 10 series was, because it's still so good at delivering amazing performance for current titles. Now, this review of the RTX 20 series isn't comprehensive. There aren't any RTX titles for me to really test out. There's just a lot of demos of DLSS and demos of RTX, but I really want to kind of dig deeper into this whole thing as titles come out in the near future. I also want to try these things out in external GPU configurations, but my overall take on this right now is that if you're into 1080p gaming, don't look at these cards at all. 10 series all the way for 1080p. If you're into 1440p gaming, the 10 series cards still do a really good job at it, but the 20 series cards start to show their advantage there. But at 4K gaming, if you want the ultimate experience in visual quality and frame rate, especially if you have one of those big TVs that support high frame rate, 20 series is phenomenal for that. But just in my opinion, if you're picking up these cards, don't pick them up exclusively for the technologies like ray tracing and DLSS, because that stuff is still in the mix. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.